Hello, hello, hello! I am Victoria, and this is the fifth episode of Victoria's Knitting Podcast. In this episode, we are going to be talking about everything I have done in the month of May. Today, I am wearing my Ingrid sweater by PetiteKnit. This was my first ever PetiteKnit design, and it's one of my favorite sweaters ever. I have been wearing it a lot now that we are in a colder month of the year, and I just love it. Now let's talk about another PetiteKnit project that I have on my needles. This is the Zipper Sweater Light, which you have already seen on my last episode, where I showed you that I had finished working on the collar and that I had started working on the yoke. Now the sweater is almost done. I'm only missing the second sleeve, and as you can see here, I'm working on DPNs. Last episode I mentioned how much I hate working with magic loop and that I was wanting to try the DPNs technique, and I finally got some DPNs. These were like the cheapest ones I could find on Amazon. I got 15 kits of needles from different sizes, and they were like $7. So I think it was a great deal. Right now I feel super good working with these needles, and the technique, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I know that I have a lot to improve because if you look at my knitting, you can see that there is like a line here and on the other side, and these are the places where the needles will meet. So I think I was holding the yarn too tight because I know I was worried that this will look like too loose, so I think I just overdid it. But anyways, the knitting looks nice. At least I wouldn't say that this is the best thing I have ever done in my life, but for a new technique, I think it looks great, and I'm very confident that once I vlog this, it will look way better. Just to talk a little bit more about the sweater, knitting the body wasn't as boring as I thought. You know that this is plain stockinette, and I usually get quite bored when I knit plain stockinette, but I didn't get as bored. Mostly I think it was because I was watching Downton Abbey. So the only change that I did to this pattern was when picking the stitches for the sleeves. I did pick 3 additional stitches on either side of the underarm, and I did that because I tried to follow PetiteKnit patterns, but I was getting some holes here and well, they didn't look nice. So I decided to pick like 3 additional stitches on either side and then decrease them as I continued knitting, and it did improve the look of the underarm a lot, and I am happy with how it looks. I mean, you can't even notice, like, you have only like a small hole, but it's almost unnoticeable. I am really anxious to block this because when I tried this on, it was looking short and tight, but I am following the pattern and I met gauge, so I am trusting on the process and hoping that once I block this, it will fit me nice and as I want. My next work in progress is an Hexagon shirt, which is done in crochet. You might have seen these shirts on Instagram or Pinterest because everyone and their mothers decided to crochet them last year, and this year I decided that I wanted to make one too. I'm knitting this with some Clea number 5, which is by Círculo Brasil, and I have mentioned this yarn a lot of time before in this channel, because this is like my favorite cotton, because it's really thin and it doesn't make your crochet pieces look bulky, which is something that I tend to struggle a lot when I'm working on my crochet. I'm not following any particular tutorial, I'm just doing an hexagon, which you can find plenty of patterns online. You do it just as you will do your regular granny square, but you just add 2 additional clusters and then you just continue crocheting this on the round. This is something that I have on my desk and I gravitate towards when I'm in class and my teacher talks too much. Seriously guys, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I started grad school and I have a teacher that loves to jab. He spends all the class talking things that are important, but he could just say it with less words. So I tend to get bored, and in order to not grab my phone, I grab my knitting, or in this case my crochet, and it has been working wonders, and I'm going to end up with a shirt. I don't know if you noticed, but I am on my bandana era, and the other day while I was watching a video from Jenny from Future Fiber, I saw that she knitted a bandana, the Easy Peasy bandana by Susan Miller, which is a free pattern you can find on Ravelry. And when I saw that, I felt like it was a sign from the gods that I needed to knit that scarf, that bandana. So that's what I'm doing too. I already started to decrease the bandana. Here is like the pointy end, because I started to play yarn chicken. I'm knitting this with the yarn I had left from my store jacket, and I had a small ball which I had left, but it wasn't enough, so I had to grab all my gauge swatches, and well, here I unraveled 2 of them. Luckily I had like 5 gauge swatches, so I think it will be enough to finish this bandana, which is smaller than the original, but it will be enough to tie it around my head or my neck. So it will be useful at the end of the day, just smaller than the original. This is a really easy pattern to make. It's just plain stockinette, and I think this is something great to keep at the back of my head, as I mentioned with the classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho, because I think this also can make as a great gift and it won't take a lot of time to make. Also, I feel like this is another project I can gravitate towards when I am bored from my bigger projects, so I think it's a lovely pattern. Talking about gift knits, so a few days ago one of my aunts came to my house to have lunch with us, and we were having lunch at our garden, and she was like, oh, it's quite cold, so I gave her the classic brick hat so she could put it on and not be as cold, and she absolutely loved it, which I was surprised because she's like an 80 years old woman and I didn't expect her to like such a colorful hat, but she was in love with it, so I decided to gift her and she was really happy. So I'm really happy too, because I made something that somebody else is going to enjoy. In May I didn't finish any object, but I wanted to show you some other things. One is this yarn. Last episode I showed you this mustard sweater that used to exist, but now it's just balls of yarn that my mom had previously knitted and she didn't like how it fit her. So she asked me to knit her a vest. She wants a button-down vest, so I'm trying to find a pattern to knit it, but I haven't found like one that I love. If you have any suggestions to knit a button-down vest with a DK weight yarn, I would love to hear your ideas. If I don't find any pattern that I love, I'm planning on following the Calm Down cardigan my Lily Kate makes, minus the sleeves, because I think it's a really lovely cardigan pattern and I think it will look really nice as a vest. Lately I've been really obsessed with Norwegian color work, especially, I don't know if you have seen the Olympic sweaters by Dale of Norway, and they are beautiful. The color works just blows my mind, and I don't know, I just want one of those sweaters in my life. While I was reading things about the patterns, I found out that in the Norwegian tradition it's really common the sticking technique. You know, this technique where you do one of the most terrifying things ever, which is cutting your knits. And I was like, I want to try that technique, but not on a sweater that it will probably take me hours. Well, at least the first time when I try this technique. So I decided to go and grab one of my gay sweaters and try one of the techniques that I found for the sticking, which is just with a crochet hook, and I must say that it worked. I have been like pulling this a lot and still holds the yarn, so this works. There is another technique which is done with a sewing machine, but I haven't sit down on my machine like forever, but once I have something to sew, I will probably try the technique here too, and I will tell you the results. But the crochet technique for the sticking seems to be super good. I wanted to finish this video by showing you my acquisition, my only acquisition of the month, which were the DPNs, the $7 DPNs. As you can see, their presentation isn't the nicest, but what can you expect for $15? But as you can see, you have a lot of different sizes of needles, and my plan is to make a case for these needles. One of them just fell to the ground, so let me grab it because I'm scared I will break it if I don't do it just right now. So as I mentioned, my plan is to make a case for the DPNs, and I will probably make a video about it. So if you're interested, keep your eyes open. And yeah, that was everything I wanted to show you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give me a like, comment, consider subscribing to this channel. Yes, please have a nice June month. Enjoy this month you're knitting, and of course, please have a happy Pride. Love you all. Mwah. Adios.